We're ready to go here at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock. I just started recording so we can have this to review later. Welcome, everyone, from the world of Georgia's public libraries. I appreciate you joining us to learn a little bit more about all the work that we've been doing to change and improve Galileo over the last couple of years. That is finally realized this week as we've introduced our new site, which we're calling Galileo Search. And I look forward to sharing with you the details of how it works, what it looks like, and what you can do with it today. Just a couple of logistics things. I've said these a couple of times as we've been getting started. Most of what I will try to do live demo. I do have slides. They're just here for me as a guide and for a reference for you after the fact. During that live demo, I can't necessarily see the chat very well, but do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat. And my colleague, Mike White, who is here also, will be glad to reload those questions to me, or he might even jot an answer to you, and we'll make sure to review the chat as we go through. And also just a reminder, I think everybody's finally gotten the drift after I've been really annoying about it, but please keep your microphones muted. I'll make sure that we get a Q&A period at the end so that you can ask questions live if you'd like to. But the chat is kind of the best way to route your questions right now. And do avoid using your cameras, please, if you can, because we are going to record this so that other public libraries staff can view it if they are not able to attend live today. We have a group of about 92 out of about 200 some odd registrants, so that's great. I know a lot of people rely on the recording, but I'm so thrilled that you all decided to join us today. And without further ado, because we have a lot of ground to cover, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So our agenda, first of all, to get into any resource, you have to log in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about logging in and the Galileo Wayfinder. I'm going to talk just about navigation generally, what is where, and point to specific features and resources that you have, old and new. There are a lot of things that should seem familiar about the new Galileo portal site. This is our first step at a redesign. We will continue to work on redesigning Galileo, and we will continue to make new releases for Galileo with a new strategy of continuous improvement. A lot of you know that Galileo kind of sat there for a while, but we are now moving forward and working hard to make regular changes, updates, and improvements to Galileo going forward. We'll take a look at the database search and the spotlight. These are two new features that we've added, and the spotlight allowing for some customization for you all in the public library world down to the system level, which will be awesome. You can put 6 key resources, and we'll see what that looks like a little bit later, on your Galileo site. We'll take a look at the database lists and how your patrons you can find databases. We're already thinking about improvements to that, and I'll mention that when we take a look. Also, we've done some improvements to the way that you can access, for those of you who manage your electronic resources on your website at your institution, at your library. You'll be able to see where you can get the Galileo Express links really easily now on the public interface. We'll talk a little bit about the improvements and changes that we've made to the Galileo support pages. We've spent substantial time updating our Galileo FAQs, our quick answers, and our support forms. And I'll talk to you about the About Galileo pages, where you'll find the just general information about Galileo, and also the tools and training page, where we've spent some substantial time updating access to tools like and making it easier to access tools like our marketing toolkit. People are saying, oh, I didn't know there was a marketing toolkit. Yep, because we made it hard to find. And then also our new training page, where I've added a lot of tutorials on Galileo Search, and also I'll be posting additional training sessions and these recorded training sessions going forward. I want to make sure everybody's familiar with that. And of course, any questions that you have along the way. I'm going to just kind of take the first step, and then I'm going to go into live demo and just run with it. We have made a substantial change to authentication. And what we're doing is we're starting to focus on logging institutions in at the institution level. We've always done this with a unique password for each site. But now we'll be routing institutions eventually, including our public libraries, to a single sign-on option. You see on the left side, this is how Athens Regional Library System and all of you generally log in now. You can use this Wayfinder, and I'll show you how it works to route you to the login screen, and then you'll put your Galileo password in and go. And then for our institutions and for you all eventually, your screen will be different on the single sign-on side. You see sign in there. This is an example from Athens Tech. But eventually, this will route you all to the Pines. For those of you who are Pines libraries, to the sign-on screen. For those of you who are not Pines libraries, it will route you to the ILS login screen so that users will be authenticated that way. And I don't want to get into the deep details of single sign-on authentication, but just know that that is a new way we're doing it. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting the slide deck. And I think it's much more valuable to go ahead and go out and do live demo and see these things live. So in just a moment, and Mike, if you can verify for me when I've officially shared the Galileo Search login page, that would be great. Just give me a little shout.
Yep, I can see it.
Thank you, Mike. So this is the new site, and you see that we've worked very hard, including work with a design company to design a nice animated, but fairly simple and straightforward graphic that reflects Galileo's history, including the globe here. This is our Wayfinder, as I mentioned, and it is going to be the new way that institutions log in. It's not the only way, but you can see I can pick my public library if I want to. If I search all institutions, so for example, I live here in Oconee County, so I have Galileo logins for Oconee County Schools and Oconee County Library as well. So you see that it presents me with a list of all of my different options as I type, and then once I select one of those options, I can go forward. It also has our public libraries in at the branch level, so I'm trying to think of a branch library. DeKalb County Schools has a lot of public schools, but the nice thing is also you can refine this. So I'm starting to get into a little complication here. I can go over to my public libraries and start typing in DeKalb, and I get DeKalb County Public Library. I'm going to, and you know, the branches show up, but the best way to do it is just to kind of go, we have the Athens Regional Library System, which is the main system, but we have the Athens Clarke County Library, which is the main branch listed. So I can go ahead and click on that. And I know my password since I'm an affiliate of that system, and I can go ahead and click go. And I am now logged in to the new Galileo Search website. Just a few features. Again, there should be some things that are familiar here for you. The Discover Search is the same EBSCO Discover Search that searches most of the Galileo content in one place that you were used to seeing in the past. We have added a link to the advanced Discover Search there so that if you want to apply more limiters and use that advanced search, it's very easy to access. Up at the top, one of the things that we've added for now, and we're probably going to keep this for a while, but we're making some decisions about how to approach this. This What's New area at the top of the screen engages a little script that runs a user through, oh, this is what has changed. You can use the Discover Search to find articles, ebooks, and more. And it just kind of walks a user through what they're experiencing the first time. The Discover Galileo Search searches many databases with a single search. The advanced search, so this is telling you all the things that I'm telling you. It goes on down to the databases by subject and databases by type page. Again, pages that should be familiar to you. And if I'm done with this, I can go ahead and click the skip button and it will stop that for me. But it walks me through several various functionalities and just kind of gives me a basic guide of what's going on here. So that is, again, just a quick outline of logging in. I'm going to log out again, and just to show you that there's more than one way to do this. Notice that one thing that's nice about using our Wayfinder functionality is it remembers how I logged in the last time. It doesn't remember my password information, and it doesn't automatically log in. But if, say, for example, here in Athens, Clarke County, I might have someone that is affiliated with the ACC Library. They might be affiliated as an adjunct faculty member at Piedmont College. They might be taking a class at UGA. So they might have 3 different Galileo accounts that they log into regularly. So this makes it much easier for them to route to the appropriate login page for those institutions just by clicking, here what they want to log into. Also, we've added, since I know we just want to keep it as simple as we can, as we're sort of a transition with single sign-on, if I know my password, I can simply just type it in here. Now, when I do this, it doesn't do that nice remembering where I logged in from, like what we saw up here, but it does go ahead and log me into the Athens Regional Library system. So those are the different ways that we are logging into Galileo now. Just to show you an example of why we might want to have different logins for and use a wayfinder like this. I am also affiliated here with the University System Office, and which uses single sign-on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to route me to the single sign-on page for the university system, and I could log in with my credentials there. And again, just to give you the equivalent, eventually users will do this with Pines. They will use, and your local library catalog, they will log in to Galileo through that functionality instead of the Galileo password. So that is a little bit about logging in. Mike, are there any questions so far on using the Wayfinder or logging in?
None so far.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I'll take a short pause, and if anybody's typing away at questions, that's great. Otherwise, I want to come back and run through a couple of slides now that I've talked about logging in, because I don't have the ability to log in via Pines, but I just wanted to point out to you all, this is what we were talking about the other day, Mike. It's when you have to find your PowerPoint slides again. It's not easy in Teams. I can't believe it. It's completely hidden it from me. Sorry about this, folks. This will look great on the recording. In any case, I'll just share them. That's just the easiest way to do it and saves time. Sorry for the pause here. Nothing quite like dead air, especially on a recording. Okay, should be back up in just a second. I'm sure there's an easy way to do that, but I haven't found it yet. All right, so what I wanted to show you is I think a lot of people aren't aware of it, but there have always been login options to Galileo via Pines, via your Pines account. And here in this slide, I just captured the 2 ways that you might see this present itself. If you are about to log into Pines, there's this Galileo virtual library lives here. If you click on that, it's just going to route you to Galileo. But if you click on it after you've already logged into Pines, and say, for example, here I'm browsing the Pines catalog and just looking around, in that case, it auto-authenticates, and we spent a lot of time the last few days making sure that this authentication from Pines works properly. So that is, it's always been there, it's always been enabled, and it's working properly. So for those of you that are at Pines libraries, that auto-authentication option within Pines is still there and still available and still functioning. As I mentioned, you can log in directly with the Galileo password. One thing I wanted to mention to you all that we did change on the new Galileo interface. We had a lot of issues with confusion. In the past, we had a guest user's kind of automatic login. What we've done is that caused a lot of confusion because people would come in, they would log in as a guest user, and it only gave them a limited number of Galileo resources. So if I was coming from a public library and thought I was going to get everything, like getting Mango languages and Gale legal forms and all of those things, I would not. I would just get things like the Digital Library of Georgia and other things. So we've placed this in a couple of places where there's a failed login, where there's, if someone doesn't find their institution, they'll get access to the guest users link. And there's also a detailed FAQ for guest users. So if they need to access resources that they were accessing previously through that guest login, it should present them with an option to log in. Now, we kind of analyzed this. There wasn't a ton of activity on guest users. People weren't necessarily finding the Digital Library of Georgia and those collections via Galileo. Most of the time, people were getting to those collections just by Googling them or finding them when they were looking for them in some other context, given that they're free resources. So we wanted to make sure that we presented an option for guest users because this content, this Georgia-specific content, is so important, but we didn't want to continue to present a confusing option for guest users where they were, or for local users who might be able to more thoroughly and completely access Galileo if they just spoke to their public library by leaving that guest users option. So that's why we made that change. Just a few of the things that I've mentioned to you already. The guided tour. I'm going to spend some time on the support page in a few minutes and the log out buttons. You can log out of Galileo just by clicking on a log out. I mentioned the Discover search. This is, again, the search that searches all the Galileo content. And what I want to spend time on next is looking at our databases by subject and by types and showing you some of the nice functionality that we've added and updated here. So again, I'll stop presenting this and regret it in a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to Galileo Search. And Mike, if you can just let me know when I'm there.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and log in again. Also, there's usually like a 5-second lag between seeing screen sharing activate and actually seeing it. So I'm here again on the Galileo main page, and I see the databases by subject option. I see that they're listed alphabetically, and if I want to view all the different subjects that are listed, I can click on View All Subjects, and it lists it for me there. One of the things that we had as a pretty consistent complaint is that there were far too many subjects, so we've pared that down greatly. So if I'm looking for an auto repair resource, I can quickly and easily go in here and search by subject and find that. One thing that we will probably work on as we continue this is having a true perhaps taking this numerical sort of way. You'll see that there's a number of databases listed here now by subject, which we didn't really have before. But if you want to sort by the, which subjects you have the most databases for, this is how you can do that. In high school is for Athens Clarke County Public Library, sort of the most assigned. And then the navigation is pretty straightforward and simple with just a previous and next button. So that's the databases by subject area, and I can view all subjects to see everything and browse the resources by subject. We also have our databases by type. Again, this is a carryover from the previous version of Galileo. We've done a lot of reconciliation and reductionism here. I would say in both these cases, we are nowhere near perfection yet. And then as we continue working, we will probably bring in some folks with expertise in metadata to continue working on improving our subjects and our types. So this is a pretty well sorted list with archives and primary resources by subject, articles. We also have a full text resources, so if someone is looking specifically for that, they can find it easily. I'm pretty sure in the public library realm, on the subject side, we added some subjects like genealogy. We've added some types here, like Georgia information, so that you can find things quickly and easily there. Then we've added the Galileo database search. One of the things that people have pointed out to us already is we've replaced the all databases A to Z list essentially with a search. We're probably going to walk that back a little bit and put an A to Z database back in. But if I am coming here and I am looking for resources, and I'm doing this on the fly for health resources, I can go ahead and click search. And go ahead and see what resources, and actually in my mind this sort of nails it for a public library search because it brings up Consumer Health Complete, CDC, Health Source Nursing and Academic Edition, all which are pretty good at providing information on public health issues. Notice that there are some bugs going on in our resource list, but once I'm in here, I can limit to types, article databases, full text resources. So it gives me facets with which I can further limit my search. And also subjects, I can do the same thing here. Nursing and allied health, consumer health, it gives me another list by subject. So again, I can continue to break down my list further if I so desire. So we've done a nice job, I think, of putting in some faceted options. As far as this, I can sort by relevance. I can sort by name. So if I want an alphabetical sort, I can do that. So the database search is there to help our users to be able to find databases more effectively. One of the nice things I'll say about this behind the scenes, and Mike can speak to this if he likes briefly, is that we have added an option for institutions to add some metadata to their local resources to help them to be able to find them more succinctly. So for example, we have a lot of our technical colleges, this is the example that springs to mind, support dental hygiene programs. So if they have dental hygiene specific resources, they can add tagging to that for those local resources in order to make them more findable. So that's another feature that we're working on behind the scenes to improve things. As far as what you get about the database itself, one complaint that we had consistently over the years was that the database list was overwhelming. There was too much information in one place. There wasn't a lot of white space there. So we've improved that by taking the just briefest of descriptions into the main database listing page and then providing a more info link so that a user can link to the full and complete detailed information. Other things that we've added are tools here. So if a user is like, oh, well, I want to use this database again later, I want to remember it when I get home, they can email it to themselves or they can send it to their phone via text message. And it works with most standard phone service mobile providers. If you click on that send to phone option, it lets you select your carrier and then go ahead and send that to yourself as a text message. So that's another, again, nice functionality I feel like that we've added to the resources, the ability to email a specific resource or send a text message with a specific resource to your phone. Let me go back into that more info link just to show you. I'll go back to the main list in a minute and show you, but we have added the Galileo Express link here, the coverage dates, all this information is detailed. We've cleaned these descriptions up a lot and limited the coding in them so that they stay nice and clean, so that they'll be a little bit more readable for our users. I've gone back to my search results here. And I just wanted to point out that the Express link, if you want to add a direct link to a Galileo resource to your library website so that users don't have to go to the portal to access it, you can just copy and paste this link into your website. I will say that right now Express links are a little buggy, but that work should be completed to make those unbuggy by the end of the day. But that's what you can do is just copy that link and put it into your library website quickly and easily if you're adding resources. If you were creating, for example, in this case a guide for consumer health and you wanted to put consumer health complete on that guide, you just copy it. You can copy the description information if you like, and then away your patrons can go to it.
Hey, Russell?
Yes, Sam?
Had a few questions come in.
Sure.
About how to find genealogy resources.
Yeah. So that leads me to a couple things. It'll be interesting to see. I'll do that as a search here. Pretty sure we added genealogy. So I searched genealogy. So all these resources come up very easily. This is Athens Clarke County, so that we can see those quickly. Those are all tagged or subject genealogy. Great question. And then I'm going to go into view all subjects. And on page 2 here, there'll be genealogy. Boom. And I can see a list of 24 resources on genealogy. So they're archival resources, they're genealogy specific resources. And this is also a great and timely question because there's another feature that I wanted to show you. Also notice that this button always takes me back to the Galileo homepage as it's done in the past, but just this is a hyperlink. In the top left, the Galileo logo will always take me back to the Galileo search main page. Great question again. We know how valuable Ancestry is to our public libraries. Let Ancestry go down and we get like 200 tickets in an hour. I'm exaggerating, but we do get a lot, both from libraries and from users if Ancestry ever is having an issue. But in any case, this is our in the spotlight area, and this area I set it up initially. I kind of spoke briefly with Wendy Corneliuson and just kind of brainstormed what were sort of our top resources. If I had it to do over again, I would probably take Novelist out and put Learning Express in. But the great thing about this is you can make this right for your library system. We do authentication and Galileo accounts at the library system level, not the individual library level, but these can be changed. And you can take one of Mike White's great Galileo admin training sessions and learn how you can change and update this area. So we knew the value of Ancestry. We know that all of our libraries, a lot of you will have Fold 3 and other genealogy resources, but we want to make those quick and easy to find. So Ancestry in particular, we made sure was included in the default spotlights. And again, these can be changed to any resource that you like. And we just wanted to provide an option for libraries on the Galileo portal to provide quick links to their most popular resources. Mike, if you wanted anything else to add on just updating those, or if you wanted to share anything about when your next admin training is where people can learn to do that, that would be great. If you don't have that, and if I'm putting you on the spot, that's fine too.
The only thing I'll add to that is if you're interested in training, you can send an email to the contact us form. And what we're doing is we want someone at the library system level that will manage the featured resources for all their branches. Right now, there's not a way to manage it at a branch level. So if if a custom featured resource is added for one library, it's going to show for everybody. So we have to be careful about who has access to make those changes. So we want to streamline that a bit. But if you're interested, submit a contact us ticket, and I'll respond to you.
And I will show you all how to use that in just a few minutes. So we have looked at most of the features in the Galileo portal. One other thing that I wanted to show, we've looked at the Galileo database search. Thank you for the example of genealogy. That's a perfect example for this group. Just note that also I can go into all databases if I want a list of everything. As I mentioned earlier, we're thinking about adding an A to Z sort over here as a facet so that you can have a true A to Z database list. When we went with the Galileo search, we thought that would be a good replacement, but then we know people want to browse, and that's come up as a feedback piece that we've gotten several times over the last couple of days, and we'll be working pretty quickly, I think, to add that back. But if you want to see all the databases at once versus searching, that all databases button will do it. And then there's an all journals. So this will go to all of your periodicals and in many cases your ebooks that you have access to and give you a by title list. And for some reason it's prompting, I needed to clear cookies more, probably Mike, but if I go in here, you see that it presents me with that same A to Z list that you've been used to using in the old Galileo interface. And also you can browse journals by discipline. So if I'm here and I'm looking for consumer reports, for example, I can go ahead and find consumer reports, and then I can take that full text access link, crossing my fingers, to Master File Elite, and then I have access to consumer reports issue by issue here in the Master File Elite database. So that's we've always had that feature and that functionality, but just wanted to show you where it is located now in the new interface. And the last thing I want to share with you just generally here on the page is the about information. If you want to, there are about, I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 6 slots here in the about area where you can add additional information about your library. We have included what was in the previous iteration of Galileo here. So for Athens Regional Library, we have a link to the main page and their Pines catalog. We can add more for you. This is one of those functionality pieces that we haven't turned over to the libraries yet, but we might in the future. Still working on improvements here. And also, if you're looking for your Galileo search box, if you want to embed your Galileo search box, that piece used to be right next to the search box here, but we've relocated that to kind of keep it out of the main page and to avoid confusion to this tools area. So if you need the encode for your embedded Galileo search box to put on your library's website, that institution-specific code can be found here. So that is what we've done for that piece. And then also we've done a lot of improvements to our support presence and our system alerts. And you can see here that there are no system alerts at the moment. Whew, that's great. But if there were any known issues with databases or known issues with Galileo, we would put them here in the Galileo Systems Alert. And I'll show you more about that on the support page as well. I'm going to go back up to the top of the screen here and pop right on into the Galileo support area just to show you the improvements that we've made here. We've added a dedicated support area, and we've had this previously. We have spent substantial time, energy, and effort updating and improving our FAQ and help articles, and also adding more metadata. So, for example, I mentioned earlier that guest users FAQ that we added. If I had someone here and they were curious about, oh, well, how do I log in as a guest? I have here, I used to be able to log in to Galileo as a guest. Can I still access resources like the Digital Library of Georgia and the New Georgia Encyclopedia? I'll go ahead and click on that, and you'll see here that, yes, you can do that, and there's a link to the resource guide, and I need to go back in and put a space in this one. And when I click on that resource guide, it takes me to the guest users page here where I have access to the Digital Library of Georgia. And I will make one more comment on the Digital Library of Georgia in a few minutes just to kind of point out something that we did there as another substantial change. But let me go back here to the support area. You can browse your questions by category. You can look at the most asked questions and those update based on usage. And then we also wanted to make sure that our patrons know that we want them to go to you all for the research help, because you have specific resources and specific reference librarians who can help your users get to what they need, more quickly and more effectively than we can. So we wanted to make sure that we had a pointer back to them. We also don't want to step on your toes and want to make sure they get the best help possible. Also, for technical issues, we have added now 2 support forms. In the past, we just had 1 form for everything. But by doing this, we've been able to account for some different scenarios. So for technical issues, these are generally our technical issues. One of the things that we've added here is just an opportunity to offer more detailed in your description, and also to include error messages. In the past, you could only attach one item, one file, one screenshot at a time. So if you had to attach more, or if you had more to share with us, you would be a little encumbered by that, and you would have to email us directly. Now you have the option to add 3 attachments here in the support services form for technical support. We also have added a form, and I know I work with a lot of you out in the public library world in the past on virtual sessions, on training sessions to come to staff development days and other things like that. So if you wanted to do that type of contact, we have the what are you contacting us about area here: marketing, feedback, licensing, training. So if you wanted to contact me for training, you would just choose that option. Tell us what you need, and that ticket will be assigned, support ticket will be assigned to me, and I'll respond to you, and we'll talk about your training options, and then I'll be glad to come to your library face-to-face one of these days again, or offer virtual training. So just wanted to show you those new options that we've added on the support page. We've also added a status line here. And so if there are any system issues ongoing, there are a couple places where you'll see that. Obviously on the Galileo main page in that area, and then also here on the support area. So this is just let us put a lot more information in a nice, neat spot and give you the option to contact us, kind of after you've had a chance to look at help articles, after you've had a chance to see system status, so that, we're not stepping over ourselves to respond to known issues in that case. So that is the support area. I'm going to go back to the Galileo main page. I mentioned, oh, that's one trick. On this page, just as a confusion, we're working on hopefully doing something better with this. And when I'm on the Galileo support page, and it's so funny because that link keeps coming and going, Mike. I don't know, we may have a bug there. Usually there is a link here to go back to the Galileo portal page. This link right now, because I'm on an external page, will take me back to the Galileo about page, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, but just know that that's the case. It's a little confusing. But here, just one thing I wanted to mention that I forgot about regarding the Galileo page and that is the database lists. We have reduced them substantially, and what we've done is just because the Digital Library of Georgia now independently has so many good resources that we wanted to make sure that that people were routing to the Digital Library of Georgia for those. Also, there were just so many collections. The Digital Library of Georgia has over 900 collections now, so we took a fair number of the Digital Library of Georgia resources out of the database list. So if you don't see a Digital Library of Georgia resource that you were used to accessing through Galileo in this list, you'll want to go ahead and check the Digital Library of Georgia site. They have a specific collections page, and you'll find those collections there. So if you go into Explore and then Collections, you'll get all those. So for example, the 1936 Gainesville tornado used to be the first resource that came up in Galileo. So if I'm a 12-year-old looking for resources for my World War II project, then I'm a little bit thrown when I see the 1936 game, or maybe I changed my topic to that. But in any case, we wanted to kind of cut down on the total number of resources that a user would need to go through in that resource list. So we did that, and we kept major portals like the newspaper page is still in the Georgia Historic Newspapers Archive. The Digital Library itself is still in here. The Civil Rights Digital Library, those large portal pages that the Digital Library of Georgia manages are still included here in the Galileo portal. But some of those smaller collections have been sort of diverted to access via the Digital Library of Georgia, just so you're aware. Your patrons may ask about that. We're at 236, and I'm going to come back to my slide deck just to make sure that I am covering everything that I want to cover here in the time that we have. Bear with me while you, again, have to painfully wait for me to find my presentation. Again, thank you for your patience. This was something I need to learn to account for better. There it comes. Slow, slow, slow.
Russell.
Just trying to fill the air. Yes, questions?
This is Mike. No. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo of myself, and it's distracting me. But sorry. I didn't know if you were going to mention this or not, but do you think we should mention the geolocation and how that's changed?
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that as a wrap-up item. Thank you for reminding me of that, Mike. Yes, some of you may have noticed that the geolocation functionality has gone away. A lot of our vendors did not like or approve of that functionality. Basically, what you saw in the past on the Galileo main site was that you could log in if you had a Georgia associated, internet service provider. It would know that, and it would log you in automatically just by clicking on a link. We had a lot of access probably coming from areas peripheral to Georgia that were served by those internet service providers and other issues with that. It was really insecure, so we decided to, with the approval of the Georgia Public Library System after several conversations about that, and with their endorsement and their knowledge, we went ahead and decommissioned that functionality. Just to make sure I'm covering everything here, the Galileo news and the system alerts, we talked about those things. The database search, the support page, the contact forms, what those look like. I wanted to talk about the About Galileo area. And again, you'll see that available at the top of the page or in the footer on a lot of our sites, where you can just go to about.galileo.usg.edu. That's where you'll find the About site. So there's information about the initiative, governance, our programs, our community, and there's also a tools and training area available now. And in the last act I'll do before I shut up and give you 5 minutes to ask questions, the tools and training area now does route to our, the training area does route to our Galileo training page. I continue to post, our webinars here, the recordings for today I'll post there. And I have some short tutorials on all of the things that I covered with you all today, also included there. So just know that training page is there for you. Also the marketing toolkit. We maintain a list also. If I've done a presentation at your staff development day and you're looking for it, you'll find it in the presentations and materials area if it hasn't been deleted because it's old. The Galileo statistics platform is located here for those of you who use statistics. So we've just kind of taken some of those heavily used pages and put them on an about.galileo page so that they can be easily found and easily used. Just as wrap up, and I'll go ahead and show that really quickly and then open the floor for questions. Additional webinars and tutorials, and I'll make sure that you all get these PowerPoint slides as well. Those tutorials that I mentioned are there on the training site. This is just a link to that training guide. And also we have an area for feedback on the Galileo site. It's linked at the bottom in the footer. You'll see it when you're logged in. So if you do have any feedback that you'd like to share with us on the new site, we're happy to get that. Again, we want to make this the best possible resource for all Georgians, even though we do have the challenge of designing for every single citizen of the state, whether they be a college student, a PhD professor, or your genealogist or your retired person who likes to work on their car. So we try to accommodate everyone, and there's certain challenges with that, but we love those challenges, and your feedback helps us to address all those situations. Please go ahead and type any questions that you have into the chat. The last thing I'm going to share with you, I'm going to back out of the slide deck for a moment, and just wanted to show Mike, if you can just let me know again when this appears. I just want to make sure everybody sees the About Galileo pages and how to get to them here from the site.
Yep, I see.
So that geolocation button, just as we go down the page, would have been here in the past near the, well, no, actually, I'll log out and show you. It would have been in this area, in the login area or in the password area. They would log in via Athens-Clarke County Library. It would know the closest library, and it would let you in that way. I'm going to kind of miss it because it let me be lazy, but at the same time, I understand why we can't use it anymore. So back into the About Galileo pages are available whether you're logged in or not. Also our program areas. I'm down at the very bottom in the footer. I'm going to go ahead and click on the About Galileo page. And this is where you access this information. For those of you who may participate in Galileo governance and want to know where the Galileo Steering Committee roster is or other things, that is in the governance area. About tells about our different programs and history, and also we have a nice new staff list where we all have our pictures. We're going to embarrass this by showing my picture, so you can put a name. You probably, oh, I see that guy at GLC all the time. He's crazy. And then Mike is in here somewhere. Oh, Mike, you're way down in the alphabet. So there's Mike. Hi. So you can find us now, which is great, and know what we look like. And sort of mortified by that, but it's okay. So that's some of the things that you'll see there. Community area. We do have a calendar. We haven't populated a lot yet, but we do have the calendar there, and we do have the tools and training area that I mentioned. And if you need the Galileo stats page or training materials, that's where you can go to get that information. All right, going to stop sharing and come back to any questions that you all have. Again, ran a little longer than I expected, but thank you all for the great questions and comments as we've gone on. That's been helpful. But the floor is open, and if we need to stay a couple of extra minutes to address any questions, that's great. If there's some complex questions that we need to address offline, I'll certainly commit to doing that as well. But Mike, are there any? I know that there are thousands of questions rolling in.
There's been a few questions, but okay. I've responded to those in chat.
Okay, I'll go to the chat and kind of get the gist of those. And is there a chance that your EBSCO account can be confused with your college EBSCO account if you're using? Mike answered that. And yes, you can use the same for both. And I think that's the biggest one I see.
Then some questions about Ancestry and if it's still available, and if remote access is still available.
That's a great question. I haven't heard anything from Ancestry on that. If you haven't heard this from me already, and Mike knows this, but they will give us 2 weeks notice before, and I think they're going to wait until libraries are really back online again. This is not hurting them at all. But they have agreed to let us know, and we'll be sure to let our public libraries know when that changes. And they've agreed again to give us 2 weeks heads up when we are going to have that change. Yeah, and it's still available via remote access. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, everybody. Glad you all like the page. That's great. We love the positive comments too. And don't hesitate to share the negative comments. I mean, we want to hear those too. I mean, it's helpful when we're looking to go into an iterative design mode. It's great. And one thing I'll ask you all in the time we have left, and you can comment. One thing we did, just based on usage, we didn't see a lot of usage from the public library sites for our different views, our K-12 views. We've retained those views in K-12, but we have it in the public library. We used to have views for middle schoolers, high schoolers, elementary schoolers, but we did not continue that. Lillian asks, when will this new format be live? It is live now. So if you go to galileo.usg.edu, this is what you'll be presented with. And just log in there with your password and away you go. All these features and functionalities are now available. We released that on July 21st, on Tuesday of this week. Jennifer, yes, we're glad to bring back the A to Z list. And that's a great question. Will you be bringing back the K-12 views for public libraries? Susan, let us know. We have already thought about that after some discussion. We haven't made a commitment to doing that. It does take a lot of hefty development work, but if we continue to hear feedback that people do want it, we will certainly address that need. That's my best answer to that right now. Certainly under consideration. I'm seeing thank yous roll in. You all are most welcome, and I appreciate your time. We're at the end of time. Again, if you have a question, don't hesitate to keep typing it. We love your questions. If you have a question after the fact, you all have my email, and you can drop us a line or drop us a line via the support forums, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks all, and have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll hang out for a couple of minutes. Celeste asks, is the K-12 view going to be available just through schools? Yes, at this time, that's the case. The K-12 views are available to our